Thank you for joining us today on the Reawaken Your Health podcast. Very excited to have a new acquaintance who's going to be joining us and sharing us his story, which is very incredible. And part of this podcast is how do we change our bodies? How do we change our health? And Todd really epitomizes that. And I'll let him share more of his story, but he's now a counselor and he has a program that helps other people. But I really want him to dive into that because it'll come from his mouth, his emotions, and you can hear this incredible story of transformation. So, Todd, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, this is cool. I'm honored to talk to you. I reviewed your resume and I'm going to learn a lot from you today, as well as sharing a good message to other people.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Now, you had quite a start to life with your mother passing away very early, committing suicide, correct?
Yes, no one has quite put it that way in that
Mhm.
how you said that. I forgot how you said that. You said I've had a quite,
A hard start to life.
yes, and
Mhm.
that is significant because yeah, when your mom kills herself, sorry, when your mom kills herself when you're 3 years old, that causes some issues right off the bat that at
Yes.
57 years of age today, I still see when some of those issues come up. But when you're a
Mhm.
kid, you have no idea what the connection is. You
Mhm.
just feel, in my case, I just felt off. And in
Yeah.
addition to my mom committing suicide, my uncle killed himself from a drug
Oh,
addiction. My aunt committed suicide from a food addiction. So
oh,
there's 4 kids in that family, all of them very intelligent, all of them very artistic, and only one survivor. So it's like from a traumatic standpoint, you kind of wonder what was possibly going on in that household.
yeah.
And as a clinician today, that's what we focus on Racing for Recovery, is understanding the impact of trauma, where it came from, the impact that it really had on people, and then how do we then begin the healing process that eventually turns into a balanced, holistic lifestyle.
Yes. And now that you're a counselor and you understand how trauma plays in on the very early upbringing, you understand even more so, and that's how you can help people. But I also have a 9-month-old baby, and I can't even imagine if I were to take my life or something horrible happened to me, even though he may not remember me per se at this early of age, I know it would disrupt his life. And that's important. That's very important to your nervous system and how it sets you up. People
You
don't
know,
realize that.
right off the bat, we're talking about some heavy stuff. I'm looking, is this just an audio podcast or is it video
It's
too?
video too, if you don't mind. We'll share it on YouTube.
Getting
Yes.
the puzzled look on my face for your viewers, but
It's
hearing
okay.
you, I'm looking at you. You said you have a 9-month-old baby boy.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats. And right away, I start going back to what my mom must have been thinking and feeling. And it's been told to me basically what she was thinking and
Yeah.
doing. And you can see the difference of where your son is going to be and where I and many other people like me ended up. And
Yeah.
it's not that difficult from an intellectual standpoint to see this stuff and understand it once you present it in the way that we're doing so right now.
Mhm. But emotionally, it gets to the heart of you because ideally we want that connection between two human beings. One is supporting the other to flourish and help him support himself to grow. And unfortunately, you had this incident where you lost that support. And even before those 3 years, obviously, there were some mental health concerns with your mother. That did you have that support even in those first 3 years?
Yeah, and this is
Mhm.
something that you'll probably concur with me on. I will do some educational groups on the impact of trauma, and I'll ask people what their earliest memory is, or when at what age they were when they have their earliest memory. And surprise or not surprisingly, people will say to me 9, 10. I had somebody say 12 years of age the other day, and I'm like, right there is the impact emotionally and psychologically from trauma.
Yeah.
Because people that are in the quote normal environments, they'll say, oh, I remember at 2, I did this, or 3, I did that. And I know for me, I was 10 years old in 4th grade. That's my earliest memory.
Um,
And again, as we're talking about the body keeping the score and the emotional impact, this is where this stuff really resonates. And even in the world of drugs and alcohol, people just want to focus on, well, quit doing cocaine and everything will be okay. And it's like, no, that quitting cocaine gives you the opportunity to really understand why you were doing the cocaine.
mhm. It really does. And I know if we move into your story, you mentioned, well, at least in a lot of the material I've read on you is into your teens, you jumped into drugs as a way to cope.
Yep. And it's ironic how my life has turned out, even though I now can look back and feel I was almost destined
Yeah.
to do what I did in a bad level and also recover from it and do what I'm
Mhm.
doing today on a positive note.
Yeah.
But athletics has always been a part of my life. I was very avid in playing hockey. And the difference between hockey then and Ironman now, hockey was a lifeline to me.
Mhm.
Ironman is something I choose to do for a myriad of reasons, but hockey was a lifeline. It was a saving grace. It was a place that provided comfort. I felt confident. That was the only thing I felt confident in. So hockey was to me more than just playing a sport.
Mhm.
It was a lifesaver. And then the choice to try drugs just threw away everything, as most people know. But yeah, it's interesting again now having that athletic mindset has come now back into my life and has benefited me greatly.
When you were deciding to leave the drug and addiction lifestyle, did you know it was athletics and sports that was going to save you? Or did you just start muddying your way through it and then, wow, okay, Ironman, you've done now 113 Ironmans, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, which, why don't you share with people? Not everyone is familiar with an Ironman. Can you share the distances for us?
I've done 113 Ironman events. The Ironman is a 2.4 mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, and then a full 26.2-mile marathon run. So I've done either fulls or half distances of those. Like yourself, you've done a few as well. To answer your question, I knew 2 things when I quit drinking on April 15th of 1993. One, I knew I was never going to drink again, definitively. I've never thought about drinking. I've never thought about using cocaine or heroin again. It's like that was done and over. Number 2, I knew I was going to do something. I just didn't know what it was going to be.
Okay.
But I knew I could and I would do something. And whether when I'm talking to somebody today in a speaking engagement or a podcast like this or a counseling session, I still say the same thing. As long as you stop self-destructing, it gives you the ability to do anything that you probably thought you never would be doing. And it's true, you can do anything.
Yeah. But in the throes of it, it's really hard to actually believe that.
Yes, if you would have asked me this when I was living in my car down in Florida in 1986 or 87, I would have told you I had a better chance of going to the moon than living the life that I have today. And I understand that. But in my second book, There's More Than One Way to Get to Cleveland, I talk about what seems abnormal in a drug addiction, meaning sobriety, becomes normal in sobriety, and what we thought was normal in addiction becomes the abnormal. So they just reverse each other, but it's an interesting, awesome, difficult journey to watch that transformation unfold.
Now, you're pretty steadfast in your decision, I'm not going to drink again. Not everyone has that ability to be that staunch in their convictions. What is different about you that you could come up with this idea and say, I'm going?
This is probably going to rock some people, and I hope it does. Everybody can make that decision that they're done. Not everybody wants to or chooses to.
Mhm.
So this is one thing where I get into doing stuff like this. I don't like words like relapse and I had a slip and relapse is a part of recovery. I do not condone that because for a person who's in the world of addiction, those are reasons to justify that continued usage. So I chose to use drugs and I did use drugs for 13 years because I wanted to.
Yeah.
For the past 31 years, I've chosen not to do them because I don't want them anymore. Now, yes, that is an easy decision to make. It is a lot of work to sustain that. That's the difference in recovery versus addiction.
Mhm. So when you made that decision, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore, did you have counselors and support to guide you?
I did not. And
Okay.
I say this often now. I have created Racing for Recovery to give people what I wish I could have been given. And what do I mean by that? I wanted someone to help me understand why I hated myself so much, why I didn't think I was of value, why I had no self-esteem except for playing hockey, as I mentioned before. Why I didn't think I was intelligent enough. I'm not good enough.
Mhm.
Nobody was out there on a therapeutic level helping me answer the why question. They were just telling me, don't you understand what you're doing with drugs? You're ruining your life. You're hurting everybody else. And I knew that. I wanted somebody to help me understand why I was doing it and offer me a way to help me cope with it that was productive. So in a way, the 70 or 80 people that are at Racing for Recovery, I envy them because they have an opportunity to get the knowledge that I never had for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you go into a little bit more what Racing for Recovery is?
Racing for Recovery is a blessing. I
Mhm.
started this in 2001 after being in our local newspaper about, recovering from drugs, doing Ironmans and starting a
Yeah.
family. People thought my story was remarkable, I guess is a good word
Yeah.
to describe it.
Mhm.
And to me, the idea of I could be of service to people,
Mhm.
that's when my whole world changed from just doing things and not really finding self to discovering my life's purpose and just really starting to embrace everything that I'm fortunate enough to live by ever since 2001. I live with empathy, humility, and gratitude. Racing for Recovery is the first program that offers help for both family members and those battling addiction.
Mhm.
We focus on trauma and the impact of trauma.
Yeah.
And then we offer an ability to create their own balanced, holistic lifestyle that they enjoy living. And that's what we do here.
Okay. So when people join your program, do they work with a multitude of practitioners or are they with one practitioner?
Great question. Everybody at Racing for Recovery is licensed in the state of
Okay.
Ohio in some
Okay.
capacity. We have entry level positions. We have licensed chemical dependency counselors like
Okay.
myself.
Mhm.
And there's, a nutritionist here or a chef, I should say. He's not an actual nutritionist.
Mhm.
We are going to be bringing a chiropractor back on board,
Okay.
but we have different levels of education and licensure to relate to different people along their way of recovery.
And do people need to come in person for it, or is this something that can be done virtually as well?
Great question again. I appreciate these. They can do it virtually, and we do take obviously people in-house as well.
Okay, that's great. So, as you are going through your decision to stop using substances and then creating this program, you mentioned that you were on your own basically, and you reverted back to using athletics and sports. What about the health journey and the holistic part of it? What How did you stumble onto, okay, I need to eat differently. I need to take care of my body differently. That's not something that's very intuitive when you've taken substances that have basically hurt your body. to just do a 180 and say, okay, I'm going to do this in addition to sports and create a program, and a lot of ambition there.
Well, this is where I wish the recovery field would look at this a little bit differently. I admire the original ways of doing things. I respect them, but to me, it reminds myself of one piece of a pizza. It's a good piece of pizza, but I want I want not only the whole pizza, I want to own the franchise and distribute it all over the world. So what do I mean by that? Um, it started for me. I did all the things that society wanted me to do. I got a job. I got a bachelor's degree, and I was doing
Yeah.
what society wanted me to do, but I was not doing what I really wanted for myself.
Mhm.
So I started playing hockey again a year or two into my recovery, and a friend of mine who unfortunately has since overdosed from drugs and alcohol himself, he bought me some hockey equipment and said, I think you need to start playing hockey again. And I picked it up and I kind of answered my own what if question.
Yeah.
Then I remembered, hey, I saw this thing called the Ironman triathlon back when I was doing drugs. I want to try that. And I just changed from hockey into Ironman, that then led to forming Racing for Recovery, that then led to me becoming vegan
Yeah.
and all these other positive things. So I never think we're done learning.
Mhm.
I think if we have an open mind towards self-betterment and we're willing to do things that maybe we judged or thought were wrong previously, and we actually try them and do them consistently, good things are going to happen. Because being sober is not about just not using drugs. It's truly about being happy you're not using drugs and alcohol.
Mhm. That makes sense, and I can see how that piece of it might be missing for some.
It's unfortunately missing from a lot. Like
Yeah.
if somebody has a drug or alcohol problem, they think, oh, I go to rehab for 30 days and I come out and I'm cured. And I've used to go to meetings where people are smoking and then having a cheeseburger afterwards, and they hate their jobs, and I'm like, I didn't get sober to feel and live like this.
Yeah.
And that's where I will say this, that's where the first form of self-esteem really started to come out, where I'm like, I want something better for me. And I just kind of went off on my own way. And fortunately, it's turned into a program that has helped a lot of people around the world.
Right. Now, with the program, is sports and athletics a theme to encourage every participant to get into it, or is it catered towards maybe they like music or art or something?
All of it. It's
Okay.
catered to whatever somebody wants to do. For example, in counseling services, if I'll talk to somebody and he'd say, yeah, I used to play guitar and then I ended up selling my guitar for drugs and I quit. I'm like, get a guitar again. Pick up anything that you had enjoyed in your addiction, art,
Yeah.
music, sports. Pick those things up, start doing them again, and let them allow you to find other things that will help you further your recovery. And that's exactly what Racing for Recovery is. It's not about running Ironman.
Yeah.
Ironman has been a great marketing tool for me, but if I told people, hey, you have to do 113 Ironmans or you're never going to be sober, I
Like,
would probably be
yeah.
talking to myself and maybe you all day, and that'd be it, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
if you say to somebody, yeah, I understand that you used to play the guitar. We have some instruments here in the back room. You want to play me a song? You watch people just light up. And I'm using that because that's actually what we do here.
Good. That's good. So something that's kind of near and dear to my heart is I work with people to help calm them down, calm their nervous system down. So I also know that when you do endurance racing, it ramps you up. There's an aspect where it calms you down. There's an aspect where it ramps you up too, because your body is putting a lot of effort. So there's a physical stress component. But there's also the rhythmical alternating movement is very soothing to the nervous system. So people often will do endurance events to calm their mind down. But at the same time, there's the adrenaline that's going through you. So there's kind of this mixture of things going on in terms of your nervous system. Now, with you having done all of these events, there's an aspect where there's that drive and there's still a part that you're ramping yourselves up and you're doing that to your body. So how do you calm down, and how have you managed, okay, can I calm down if I didn't have an Ironman event so I don't choose to go into drugs and alcohol?
You know, I wish I would have met you when I started doing Ironman, and I am, on the record, because obviously we're recording
Yeah.
this, but off the
Yeah.
record, I am definitely going to be buying your books and learning more about this, because the piece you're talking about now, I don't have a lot of that.
Got
I
it.
have the drive. I know the adrenaline rush. I get all that. Sometimes it is calming, but I think I have taxed my body more than I've calmed it. I did pick up yoga a few years ago, which
Okay.
has helped,
That's good.
right?
That's good.
I,
Yep. Anything you can do. Yeah.
It's definitely helped. Also,
Okay.
being vegan, my
Mhm.
nutrition has helped calm the nervous system quite a bit.
Okay.
Meditation has helped quite a bit.
Okay.
I've listened to more soothing music at different parts of the day.
Okay.
That's helped
Good.
as well.
Good.
But the other things that you are the expert in are definitely things that I'm willing to try and I will implement. And here again, Amy, I do want to point this out. This is the part of what I'm trying to get across to people. I could very easily say, well, I've done 113 Ironmans. I don't need to learn anything else. And no, I'm constantly open-minded to learning. And that's why I think I have been successful in my journey.
Yeah, and it goes to say that you probably understand the word resilience really well.
Great.
And it's a fabulous word, especially when you've accomplished a lot of times we touch on all the accomplishments, but what's the true story behind it? Where can you talk to us a little bit more on resilience? How do you instill that in others, encourage the people in your program to have and develop resilience to get to their goals?
Well, we have the four big ideas at Racing for Recovery. Number one is you can get off of drugs and alcohol. Number two, you can do anything in your recovery. Number three, we are not immune to life's hardships. Number four, we don't have to use drugs to cope with them. We can become resilient to any adversity that we encounter and find a way to overcome it. So I'd like to switch this up a little bit on
Yeah,
you and put you on the spot. So
go for
we've been
it.
talking for a while here, right?
Hmm.
Let's say I come to you for counseling
Hmm.
and you know my backstory. What would you offer to me that can help me calm that anxiety and stop taxing the nervous system so much?
Well, because I can visually see you, I can see that your body is not in a full position of calmness to allow you to fully calm down.
Hmm.
So I can visually look at you sitting there and I can tell, even though you're wearing a very thick sweater and hoodie, I can tell that your rib cage could relax down a little bit more, which will change your breathing mechanics and it will calm you down even more. So I'm going to tell you, and many of my listeners are probably very familiar with this. If you right now, Todd, blow out, exhale, and let your belly button spill out, which for athletes, all of my athletes will tell me I can't do that, but let your belly button spill out so your rib cage drops down. You start to give your body permission to relax. So right now, as we're having this conversation, I'm sitting up because I'm trying to exude a little bit of energy, just a slightly more than when I want to be in a calm state. But if I really want to calm myself down, I'll sit back, let my back touch the back of the chair, let my pelvis roll backwards a little bit, let my belly spill out as I exhale. And then I'll start to exude a different type of energy and I can feel it start to shift my breathing. My breathing becomes different in terms of the use of the diaphragm. I'll use the diaphragm more instead of the other accessory muscles in the lungs, the ribs, the body. And so I start to shift myself. And so even as I'm watching you do that as I talk, I can see you're working to implement what I'm saying. So we can get your breastbone to sink in, your body can calm down. And then when you talk, you might exude a different type of energy. And you can use this when you're speaking too. Does that make sense?
Really, I can totally feel it. Um, I'll say this because I'm honest with it. Some people like myself, there's some body dysmorphic issues with things, right?
Yep.
And as soon
Yep.
as you say, let your belly out right away, I'm like, oh my God, I'm heavy, right? And
Yes.
like,
Mhm.
but having
Mhm.
said that, I also feel the benefits and I can tell it has calmed me.
Mhm.
So there's a lesson in there that A, I'm not heavy, it's okay. And B, I've just learned how to instantly calm myself
Mhm.
down.
Yes, and I will say you're not heavy. You just gave your digestive tract space to work.
There you go.
And I say that in all honesty. So when you suck your gut up and in, you're compressing on the digestive tract that actually needs to expand and contract.
Wow.
Peristalsis, the movement of food down your digestive tract, needs a parasympathetic or calm nervous system in order for it to expand and contract. So you need to let your belly button let go so your digestive tract can work, so you can get the nutrition you need, so you can satiate yourself, so you can have a calm nervous system.
Do I have to pay you for this information right now?
You get a little bonus here. I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but you did turn it around. But this is an aspect that's very important for someone who has done 113 Ironman events. It is so important because I want you to succeed even more. I want you to do, if you want to do 200, okay, let's get you to 200. But I want to support you on that. And I want to help you get more people in your program. Sorry, I butchered up the name of the Race for Recovery.
Recovery,
So
yeah.
I want you to get people into that because you have the right purpose. You have the right meaning and you're doing it in the right way by helping support people in what makes them shine.
So now I appreciate all this and I'll turn it back around to what we originally were talking about. This right now, again, at 57 years old,
Mhm.
to me is a direct impact of what I endured from 3.5 years old from a suicide.
Mhm.
So I've gotten by, if you will. I've done a lot of things. I've become successful in a myriad of ways, but that doesn't automatically equate to I that I can't get better, that there's not more information out there to learn, but it does show in that learning, I don't have to be using drugs as a coping mechanism anymore. I still can get educated. I can have a belief in God or whoever. I can do things, but it doesn't mean cured. It means the ability to enjoy life and constantly get better at it. And that's really what I wanted to share with your audience today as well.
Yes, you're very growth oriented, which I applaud because if you're not growing, you're basically dying. And we need to hear this encouragement of growth. And it doesn't mean you have to have the greatest accomplishments in the world. It just means, can you learn? Can you do something a little bit different or be receptive to listening to something different,
Agree.
which is
Agree.
fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is great. So you've written a couple books, right? Can you talk
Stick.
to us about those? Okay,
Yeah.
more than a couple.
About to release my sixth book.
Okay.
Um, as I say that, that's another thing I never thought I would be doing. I never thought I would write one, let alone six. But again, that constant willingness to learn from others, that's a lot of the reason why I wrote the 5 books after my first one. My first one was basically, here's my story. Then people started asking me, well, how do you do this? So I wrote a second one, and then it turned into, well, let's write a book on the impact of trauma. And they keep evolving. And we're saying a lot of the same things, which is great for the audience. It's a reminder to learn the impact of trauma. Don't use drugs or self-destruction as a coping mechanism. Continuously work hard and do things and never stop learning from others so you can do more things in a better way.
Yeah, that's fabulous. Do you feel on a daily basis, do you feel that you still have to make a choice not to use? Because, and I say that because I have very dear people in my life who tell me that on a daily basis, they still have a desire and they have to make a choice. So is that your reality as well?
My reality is, yes, I, like everybody else, have a daily opportunity to choose sobriety or choose addiction. I am grateful that I don't battle the urge to use drugs and alcohol. I am empathetic to those that still have those urges, and I welcome them to turn into the live stream Racing for Recovery support group meeting every Thursday night at 6:30 and just watch it on our YouTube page or Facebook page. Um, dare I say, I pray for people's willingness to constantly not give up. I mean, we're losing people to suicide, overdoses every day, and I truly empathize with those that still want to use, but I praise them for having the courage not to use today.
Yeah. Do you lead those sessions, those live sessions?
I have not been running the support group meetings in a while
Okay.
because I love watching the success stories of Racing for Recovery run those. So I'm kind of
Oh, I see. Okay.
passing the baton, but I ran them for 22 years every Thursday
Oh,
night.
okay.
I think I put my time in. It's time to let other people have a shot at it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and what an honor for people who've gone through the program and had success to share and lead and guide other people as well. That's very rewarding.
it's great. Yeah, I still do online counseling and speaking engagements and stuff, but I love listening on every Thursday night, listening to our success stories up there, delivering a message of hope to other people. It's brilliant.
That's great. One other topic I just want to cover quickly. Now, I know you speak a lot and you speak to schools, is that correct?
Correct, yes.
How do you reach out and really touch teenagers who don't care, who don't, they have that attitude of, I don't give a care, I just don't. And how do you get them to change?
I love your questions today. When I'm up there talking, I think of the kid who's in the audience that was me back in high school. And I talk about that. I'm like, I'm sure there's some of you sitting in here saying, oh, this old man who's run a bunch of Ironmans doesn't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, I hear you. I probably would have said the same thing about me back then as well.
Mhm.
I also can point out where my mindset led me to by having that mindset. And I go on to say, if you think you're going to outsmart this stuff, you won't. And you'll find out the lesson either the easy way by listening to people like myself and you that are talking like this, or you'll find it out the hard way, or you may not figure it out at all and you may not make it. And that's really the three choices. And one of the greatest compliments I get from kids is that they will say to me, wow, you are real with what you're talking about. I don't read these things out of a textbook. I speak openly and honestly and absolutely directly to them because it's a matter of life and death for people.
Yes, and I do commend you on that. You're a very real person. That's how
Thank,
you get to people. Be real. And you're very real and it's nice and refreshing. So thank you for doing that for all those kids. Yeah.
thank you. That means a lot to me. And I've spoken to different high schools and colleges across the United States. And again, that compliment when people come up to me and they'll tell me, God, I don't want to say I'm the best, but they'll say, I listened to you today. I learned from you today. And I can tell the ones that by the questions they ask me, I know where they are in their life. When you get the kid that comes up and says, hey, I have a friend of mine that's really going through something right now, and they start giving details of things. I will at some point say, well, tell your friend this. But kids are like sponges and they know they're hurting. And when they can relate to somebody who's been through that hurt, you've built a trust and a bond right there that really establishes credibility, and then some healing can take place.
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely wonderful. I really appreciate you coming on here. And I know I want to share this out to more and more people. What is the best way people can reach out to you or learn more about Racing for Recovery?
racingforrecovery.org. We're all over social media. If you want to find me personally on Instagram, it's Sober Ultraman. And I will say this, I answer every message myself personally. If you reach out to me, I will be the one responding to you. If you need help, and I'm looking right now at the TV screen here or whatever, if you need help, contact me or contact somebody and get the help that you deserve, because you deserve to be your best.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. I know our listeners appreciate it. And thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here today.
Well, I appreciate you helping me on the podcast. I was supposed to be helping your listeners, so thank you for that.
Yes. Well, and thank you all for joining us today. We will see you again next week. Have a great one. Bye now.